And I think that's the hard part. And that I think anybody that's genuinely considering selling their agency, like even with as much due diligence on my part, as much investigative like research that I did on somebody's behalf, as much as you try so desperately to control the outcome for people that you care about, like it was a really hard lesson for me to be like, you are not in control.
Hey everybody, today I am so excited to be joined by my friend and amazing woman, Veronica Romney. If you don't know Veronica, she's a 16 plus year marketing leadership expert, international speaker, podcast host, the proud creator of the Rainmaker residency programs. As a former speaker and trainer for Tony Robbins and Dean Grazowski, I probably just totally butchered that, chief of staff at Boss Babe, director of marketing suite products for a $2 billion evaluated software company, and former marketing agency owner. She has had the privilege of witnessing the marketing industry's evolution firsthand from every angle possible. And today, she's going to talk to us about every angle possible when it comes to selling your agency. Veronica, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Okay, words of affirmation, as you know, from my keynote where we hung out together in Miami, is my words, my love language.
Yes.
So you just like loving on me and like, yeah, I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Yes, y'all. We're going to get all of the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I know there was a little bit of all of it, as we talked about a slight bit. And I just want people to know, I'm curious myself. If I sell, what are the multipliers? Should I sell? What do I need to think about? Like, these are questions that I think a lot of agency owners have. And some of us, have been in the business for a long time and we're tired.
Yeah.
And we think about these things. So I'm just super excited that we have you here to give us the real on selling your agency. But first things first, what made you decide to start your own agency in the beginning?
Well, okay, let's take it back to the beginning. So I actually never really, well, let me just put it this way. I feel like I'm Moana in the inside, Disney character wise. Like I knew that one day I would be an entrepreneur, like the ocean called. I just didn't know like the timing of when said ocean would call. And I didn't realize that was going to happen when I was on my maternity leave. So let me just advise your listeners right now. Having a baby, having a full-time job, being on maternity leave might not be the best time to think about also doing the hardest thing possible, which is to start a business from nothing. But that's my story. My husband and I were walking around downtown Boca Raton, Florida, and he was just like venting about his profession his career space at the time. And he was just like, we should just do this for ourselves. And I loved my job. I loved the company that I was working with at the time. I'd been there, by the time I left, it was like 4 years total. But I was still, I think, within the first year, and I was on maternity leave. And I knew from my boss, my chief revenue officer, I believe, or chief operating officer, that the CEO at the time was very anti remote employees. How far we've come. But at the time, he was very anti-remote employees. And I wanted to move to Florida to be with my Cuban family to help me raise this infant. I had no business. I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh.
And so I think it was a combination of like fear of the future, of the unknown, not wanting to like circulate my family around a job that was not stable. And then my husband, who is a salesperson, marketer, marries a salesperson. He was very persuasive in convincing me that we should start a business. And I'm a marketer. And so the easiest thing that I could think of in starting a business would just be rendering marketing services for others. And so that's literally where it came from.
Oh, well, I knew it was written in the stars for you. You could just tell. So, quick backstory. Veronica and I met at a speaking engagement outside of the marketing world. And man, her presentation just blew me away. You have such a presence on stage. It's like your superpower. So I was like basically running up to her at the end, like, hey, please, I need to talk to you. I need you to have you on this podcast.
Be friends.
Yeah, let's be besties. Okay, so let's talk about the kind of clients you serve. And can you please give us all the backstory on the whole Tony Robbins thing? Because people want to know.
Yeah. Okay. So client wise, we were specialists when it came to local businesses for sure. So we actually had a ton of franchise clients, a lot of the Z's. We represented like College Hunks Hauling Junks, Shelf Genie, Game Track. Like there was a whole bunch of franchises and just random one-stop, local business owners across the country. So we named it Losimo, which it just makes me chuckle now, so don't tease, but it was local social mobile. So clever.
I love it.
And then everybody else was like, Somolo, Lomoso. I'm like, no. So it wasn't as original as I thought it was when I first put it together. But whatever. Everybody has their beginnings.
You do what you do.
And so, yeah, we were local businesses and we didn't specialize in one service. We actually were generalists. So we would do a little bit of everything, which again, I've learned a lot in this process, but that's how we started. And majority of the clients that I would secure for our business would be through, of course, speaking and thought leadership and putting myself out there and being nerdy on stage, talking about whatever. And then clients, reaching out to me after the fact saying, can you do that for us? I'm like, sure. When I sold the business years later, I had become so accustomed and I had apparently the stage was like, I didn't realize that I was meant for that too.
Yes.
But speaking for the agency to generate business, then it was like, wait a minute, if I drop the services side, I could still technically, I guess, be a speaker. I never had identified as a speaker like that before, where I was just getting paid for like the actual talking and the thought leadership on stage, not tying back to a business model. And that's where the Tony Robbins opportunity. So I think I sold the business summer 2019. And then it was the same year that Tony Robbins and his partner, Dean Graziosi, did this like collective business venture all around like, the online education industries, billions of dollars, you want in. It was a lot of that. And they sold like this $2,000 course. I'm like, yeah, I want in. So I bought it. I definitely got baited, bought it. And then shockingly, they broke the internet. It was this whole big thing. But then just within a couple of weeks after purchasing said course, 80 modules, it was a beast. They were like, hey, there's actually a ton of stages that we would like to share this message, with, but we don't have the capacity to do it. So we're actually going to build a speaking team. Apply if you would like to be a part of the speaking team. But they only solicited speakers from people who've purchased their program, which I thought was actually really smart.
So smart.
So smart, because they obviously we're bought in. We're bought into the mission, the vision, the why.
Yep.
Like we're bought into this movement. If not, we wouldn't have swiped our credit cards. And of course, there's going to be talent amongst buyers. And so so out of like thousands and thousands of buyers, it was like a pool of 500 to 600 people that had applied to be a part of the speaking team. I got picked, and then it was like a Hunger Games style selection process. That's not even an exaggeration. The top 25 got flown out to Scottsdale, Arizona, which is where Dean's, mastermind.com like headquarters is. That's where I met Pete Vargas and the Speaker Lab, or not the Speaker Lab, Advance Your Reach. And they were using Advance Your Reach to basically whittle down the speakers. And so we got told we were going because we had been picked. No. We were the top 25. They were going to go down to 5 to 6. And so we saw everybody in the room. We're like, you got in. It was like so joyous.
No.
And then within the first 2 hours, like actually you're competing and pitting against each other. And the room changed immediately.
Oof.
Like the guy next to me who was super nice was like such a jerk all of a sudden. And I'm like, dude.
Like everybody's side-eyeing you all of a sudden.
Yes, everybody's nasty. Everybody's measuring each other up. And I'm like, oh no. And then it was like basically 2 days of like, putting you on the spot, what's your story? It was wild, but I made it. I got picked as the top 5, top 6, and then the rest is kind of history. Yeah.
So let's get into it. Expectations versus reality. It's kind of like what you just talked about, right? You go in with this expectation that you've made it, and then the reality was you had to fight tooth and nail with all these people.
Yeah.
Start by describing your initial experiences when you started to realize, like, I'm going to sell my agency, and how did those, thoughts compare to the actual experience?
Well, here's the thing about selling a business. It's not for the weak. Like my parents also just sold their HVAC company after 33 years. So seeing how they had to sell a legacy brand like that, and then what I went through to sell my agency, which was only just a couple of years, so more like, I guess, in its infancy compared to a 33-year business and brand. But it's brutal. It was brutal for me. And I thought it was just because I'm a newbie and I didn't know what I was doing. But it was also brutal for my parents, just like the onslaught of work and paperwork and the financials and all of that. And then just to have people kind of like toy you around at the last hour. That
Oof.
all of those rumors are true. It happened to me and it happened to my parents. They went through the formality of a broker. I did it myself. So like regardless of the path that you choose in relieving yourself of your business, it's still messy. And so first of all, no one prepares you for that. Like there is no preparation. You're just learning it literally in the moment.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people sell their businesses for a different reason. If I'm being radically honest, it was because I was wildly burned out of client services and being a
Okay.
service provider.
No, thank you for being honest. Yeah.
I wasn't even the account manager. We had an account manager team. We had
Right.
it's not like we weren't so tiny that I was performing all the major roles. But of course, every problem comes up to you anyways. It doesn't matter. And so I was just burned out of agency model life, like that really slim profit margin. You're only as good as the people who are rendering the services. You train them, they leave you, the clients, the entitlement. I mean, like it was just, I needed out. I was done.
Yep.
I was done. I had 2 small little boys at this point, and I was just, this is not the lifestyle for me.
So burnout was the deciding factor.
Yes.
And then what happened as you made that decision? Like, what are some of the most significant challenges you faced prepping your agency for sale? You said you did it yourself and you didn't go with a broker. So I'm assuming there was some kind of research on your end.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I was a part of this Facebook group of like 80 to 90 different agency owners, like this like secret private Facebook group that my friend Mike had invited me to. And so I obviously was like picking people's brains, whoever was generous enough to kind of share. Like what can I anticipate as far as like, how do I price this? How do I do this? How do I find? I think also for me, I was, even back then, I was I'm still, I mean, the work that I do today, I'm extremely team centric of a person. And so my biggest concern wasn't so much like what would happen to my clients. I wish I could say that, but like I wasn't worried about their well-being as much as I was worried about 2 people's well-being. Myself, I didn't want to go with the deal. And 2, the team, my team, like my babies, my chicks, who was going to be the new mother hen, who was going to be the new person. And like leaders aren't created equal.
No.
And I was terrified I was losing sleep thinking that I might put them in harm's way.
Yeah.
So that was like the early stages of like, how do I do this? How does this work?
Yeah. That makes so much sense. Like, it's not just you in the cell, right? It's you and every single team member that is with your organization. And well, I guess for some of us it is, right? But it's such a true factor. Like, it's not just, and I find it so interesting too that you said you didn't want to go with the sale. Why? Do you mind me asking? Like, let me be nosy. Why? Why didn't you want to go with the sale?
I didn't. There was a couple of interested buyers. One really aggressive one, if I'm being honest. He was also based in Boca Raton, which is where our agency was based. He had been courting me from year 1 because he had a payment processing company. And so he wanted to basically add a services arm to his empire so that not only could his clients process credit cards and payments through his, solutions, but they could also do marketing with us. They could do different. So he wanted me to come with the deal so that I could lead up that division. But what I heard in that was I have a boss. And what's the point of entrepreneurship if you go back to having a boss? And then of course, like I'm just my personality. It's not that I'm opposed to having an employer. I actually had phenomenal bosses. I've had both, right? But I've had phenomenal leaders that have sat above me and helped me and mentor me. But again, I've also had really bad leaders and that really at different points in my career destroyed my self-esteem and my self-worth. So I was just really anxious to think that I'd go back to having a boss. And then if we were not aligned in core values, not everybody lives integrity the same way. Like, so that I think that was where I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea for me right now.
Well, good for you for knowing what you wanted and then like sticking to it, because I think that's hard too. We can get talked into things, or I can pretty easily.
Yeah, especially by visionaries, because they just paint a really beautiful picture of the future.
Such a beautiful picture. And then when you actually get there, you're like, wait a minute, this is not what you told me it was going to be.
Yeah.
Were there any surprises or unforeseen issues that happened during the sales process
Of
that you feel
course.
like people should know about? What are some of
Well,
those?
so one thing, if I could go back, I'm a clever marketer, at least at the time. I thought I was. So I was the agency that didn't have contracts. Like like one of our marketing slogans was like, "We're not going to hold you hostage in a 6 month, 12-month
Mhm.
contract. We have a 90% retention rate without contracts." Like it was
Wow.
all over that. Like you work with us, you stay with us because you can trust us, you believe in us, we perform like. And so I didn't have contracts that were like long-term contracts. Well,
Mhm.
when you go to evaluate a service business and there's no bankable revenue for the foreseeable future because everybody's on a 30-day clause out,
Oof.
yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
bit of a problem. So that was the immediate like heart dropping kind of like, oh no, I can probably get rid of this company, but it's going to be for nothing unless I do this a little bit more clever. So
Oh,
that was the
no.
big
Yeah.
like reality slap across the face.
So what did you do about that? Like, were you at that point, like, running through to try to put terms onto your
Mm-mm,
clients? Or you're just
mm-mm.
like, "Look, this is what it is. We're gonna have to
No.
rely on some other
No,
factors."
because again, it goes back to the integrity thing. Like, if my whole like pirate flag like, was like, we're not holding you hostage. Ironically, I just said pirates. Then, like me coming back around behind the paid wall, saying, like, "Now let me lock you up for 6 months to 18 months, so that I can sell this in 30 days, 60 days, and you don't know about." Like, oh, I just couldn't do
Mhm.
it. I couldn't do
Yeah.
it.
Too icky.
Yeah, for me it was. Integrity is like my thing. It's like my core value. So no, I didn't do that. But what I did do, what I ended up doing is I ended up finding a buyer who absorbed actually both team and contracts and then basically agreed legally to pay me in perpetuity. So as long as my clients would continue paying their agency, I would get a cut. I would get
Oh, wow.
20% for every single month that client, because I basically covered their cost of client acquisition.
Right.
And it was a
Right.
client that I sourced and then I handed over. And so they were just going to basically pay me that referral fee, I guess, as long as the client paid them, I would get paid.
That makes sense because it's almost
Hmm.
like they're paying you and maybe even less than they would pay a
Hmm.
salesperson who would be,
Correct.
like, out there
Correct.
drudging along,
Correct.
getting all of those deals. So that's very interesting, very cool.
Hmm. Hmm.
What about you said it was an emotional experience.
Yes.
So, can we talk about the emotional impact that it had on you and your team and
Yeah.
any sound advice you want to share with the audience there?
Yeah. I mean, the first of all, finding a buyer at all, because there was different people that courted me, right? So
Mhm.
one person, without naming names, he like courted me aggressively. Like I think it was me, the idea of heading up this division and its growth more than just the assets that I had. So he really didn't value anything that I had built. He wanted somebody that had the grit to start something from nothing with the specialty. So he
Mm,
was courting me,
right.
you know? And I didn't want that. Then there was another buyer who was like, "Yeah, we'll absorb your client portfolio, but we don't need any team, like no team." So everybody was going to basically get laid off, and that was terrifying. So
Yeah.
like again, everybody had, and then some people wanted some contracts, some people wanted some team members. That got even weirder because I'm like, okay, two of you can go, three of you are out, five of you, good, you know what I mean? Like sayonara. I don't. It was just that was the emotional roller coaster in the courtship phase of trying to find somebody that we were aligned with. And how I found my person was, are you familiar with StoryBrand?
Yes. Why do I know
Okay.
that name?
Donald Miller, how
Okay.
StoryBrand. It's like has many books, but I think it's definitely like the book that is the most famous for
Okay,
how
that's
to
why.
create a story brand in your business, how to
Mhm.
position yourself as a guide and the customer as a hero, right? Well, he has a certification arm to his business and he certifies both individual marketers but also agencies. So I was like, I really prescribe to this idea that companies are guiding people to their success. We're not the hero, the customer is the hero. And anybody that has that belief system and also spent tens of thousands of dollars to get certified in that belief system would probably be worthy of a conversation. And that was my thinking.
Smart.
So I went on StoryBrand. I've never said this publicly. So I went on StoryBrands. They have like almost like a directory where you can see their certified partners and certified agencies and certified whatever. And so I contacted all of their certified agencies one
Get
by
it.
one.
Get it.
And I was like, hey, I too love StoryBrand. I too, hold these belief
Uh-huh.
systems. I'm actually in the process of potentially, selling my agency. Would you be interested in having a discussion? Because I think that you would appreciate the value, the clients, the values, the type of clients I attract, the team members that I have, like they're the best of the best, right? And that's actually where I found my
But
buyer.
I love that. Like you went out there and you made it happen
Yeah.
because you didn't like what was in front of you. Like you
Correct.
don't have to accept what's in front of
Correct.
you. This is what I'm hearing you say.
Correct.
You don't have to take what is given.
Yeah.
You can make something happen if you work hard like you did.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of work.
Well, and I think my entire selling process would certainly be a lesson on creativity and resourcefulness. Like
Yes.
I was creative in the negotiations legally and being paid out. I was creative in finding somebody. I didn't go the traditional route. I didn't go through a business broker. I didn't do it that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that obviously served me. Now, I want to tell you that I set off into the sunset and there was rainbows and the pot of gold. It was not. So the person that I ended up selling to, he was lovely at first, and he wanted the team, and he courted the team, and they loved him. It was just this is happening. This is oh my gosh, best case scenario.
Yeah.
As soon as the transaction was completed, I did get paid. It's not like he didn't honor legally his agreement. But man, did things change really quickly.
Oh boy.
Really quickly. His personality was a little bit more double-sided than we had anticipated.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And again, I was still really close with my team members. And so they would be like, hey, what we thought, he's doing things that are making us feel uncomfortable. I'm like, what? So and I think that's the hard part. And that I think anybody that's genuinely considering selling their agency, even with as much due diligence on my part, as much investigative research that I did on somebody's behalf, as much as you try so desperately to control the outcome for people that you care about, it was a really hard lesson for me to be like, you are not in control.
Yeah. That's
real hard.
That's a gut punch, right? Because as entrepreneurs, I think we have a little bit of control issues.
Sure.
And, we want to keep that position, even when you sell. So let's talk about how your life changed post-sale.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you miss about running the agency and what don't you miss?
We're being honest, right? This is an honest show.
Your secrets are safe here.
So since the sale of the agency, and we were an in-person agency, I had a fancy lease in this beautiful building. The first floor of the building was Office Depot, and we were on the second or third floor. Nice. And we had painted all the colors. We had one big wall that we had painted that special paint that you can use as a whiteboard.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
And we would have parties, and we would order in Mexican food, and the office was constructed in a bullpen. So it was really open. And I've since selling the business, I have never actually worked in an office again. And even though you're seeing this pretty office, you're seeing my whiteboard that my son was like, I love you, Mom.
I see some cute love notes.
Yeah. I recently cleaned it. My little boy was like, I'm going to do something with this, But even though I've created this beautiful, candle lit office environment, nothing compares. Literally nothing compares to what I experience going into the office every day and being with my people. There's just nothing like the energy of when 2 or 3 people are in unison in the room, especially when you're doing hard things together or dealing with challenges together. It is some of my most cherished and famous, my beloved memories is being in the office space with the people, right? So I miss that still to this day. So when I do travel for work and I do speaking engagements, I do like to go hang out at the cocktail hour, even though I don't drink. And I do like to have lunch with people because I don't get that at home. I don't get this in this office, right?
And that's a true statement, by the way, because I saw you hanging out. We hung out.
Yeah.
I'm the same way though. I feel like the
Mhm.
stage is awesome. It's wonderful, but I feel like the real
Mhm.
magic happens like
Mhm.
in the halls or
Yes.
in the networking event or
Yes.
at lunch. Like we were
Yes.
sitting there talking and
Mhm.
connecting
Yeah.
with each other
Mhm.
over our families and our sisters.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
totally believe that.
Now, the parts I don't miss.
Tell the truth now.
The parts I don't miss, I think, like, I feel like I'm Madonna of marketing. I don't even know, like Lady Gaga or whatever. I have eras. Taylor Swift, that's probably more relevant. But like, I've been a marketer in different skins. Like, I've been a marketer where I've been a marketing keynote speaker. I've been a marketing service provider. I've been a marketing strategist, a consultant, a mentor, a marketing coach. Like, a doer. Like, I've done all. My career has. I've only ever really identified as a marketer for over 16 years. So what I don't miss about being a marketing agency owner is, man, if we're being really honest, the power dynamic in that type of client relationship is hard.
Yeah.
Like, especially where I would source my clients. So like, you get on stage, you're wearing your like tight dress, Spanx. You're like
Spanx for
Wonder
sure.
Woman, right? You're just like,
Yeah.
just loving life, bright lights, I'm like rhyming here. Like, I'm just loving it, right? And people are coming up to me and they're excited, they're impressed, they want to work, and yay. And then
Yeah.
they become your client. And the manner in which some clients treat agencies is, I mean, I'm not telling anybody, if you own an agency, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
Mhm.
they don't treat you that way. So, like, going from stage where the power dynamic is like almost like they hold you in a little bit of reverence,
Yes.
and then going into an agency relationship, now the power dynamic is completely reversed and they talk down to you, or they treat you a particular way,
Mhm.
or they have expectations. Or the hard part with marketing agency life is I always felt like me and the team, we were always like being punished for the crappy ex-girlfriend because they had already gone through how many agencies that had disappointed
Exactly.
them, and
Yes.
that, promised all of these leads for cheap and then didn't deliver or didn't live up to the hype. And so when we would get them, it was like, you're guilty until proven innocent energy.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I really don't enjoy that. Relationships as a whole, like, is my favorite form of marketing, and also just who I am and how I conduct my life. I'm a kind of deep end of the pool type of person. Let's jump in and be.
Yeah.
And so to have people treat you that way because the power dynamic shifts so quickly as soon as things are signed, that was always very difficult for me.
Yes. I want to add to that too. Like they see you on stage and we are our own people,
Mhm,
but they're not
mhm,
working directly with us. Like
mhm,
you said, right? Like
mhm,
we're doing the sales and
mhm.
bringing in new clients and maybe some operations, and then they go and they work with like the project manager, the account manager. They want to
Right,
be the Veronica.
right,
And they're not the Veronica. They're
right.
their own person, and they don't have the exact same personality that we have, but they're very good at their jobs, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be in that role. And I feel like they get punished
Yes.
sometimes
Yep.
because they're not Veronica, which
Yep.
is very unfair.
Yeah, but that's where I think that's where that version of me was born, like being a marketing coach, a marketing consultant and mentor and guide, because I
Mhm.
have programs where I like mentor marketers, right?
Oh, fun. Okay.
And that was born in the agency experience because 9 times out of 10 in working with my account managers or anybody in a client facing role, it had nothing to do with that, like up leveling their marketing skill. It was like how to handle personalities that are not treating you well,
Yes.
how to have boundaries, how to speak your truth to power, how to there were so many things when it came to that. That was the bulk of my team management, really, than anything else that I did in the agency.
Yeah. I love that. Also, everyone needs to hear her love languages talk because it's amazing. If you've read that book too, like it's totally
So
gonna be like
good.
you. Like everyone in the audience was like, okay, so let's talk about value.
Okay.
How do you, Veronica, perceive the value of your agency and the legacy that you left behind? Because I don't care what anybody else thinks. I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, it's true. So first things first, before I answer this, I need to give like context. I'm not somebody who's motivated by money or things.
Mm-hmm.
So like gifts on the love languages is my least favorite love
Same girl,
language.
same.
Yep.
Acts of service.
Yep. So yeah, words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time. Like I will spend stupid money on experiences, but I won't spend stupid money on possessions or things, right? Proud Target wearer, like don't care. Like Target.
Target has been delivering.
Yes. So like, yeah. So with that said, like when I look back at my agency owner past and legacy, I never flex. You'll actually never ever hear me say anywhere on social media, like I'm a 7-figure business owner. None of that. I don't, not that I have a problem with it. If you do, I just don't. That's
style.
Not me. And you don't buy from me to be me. You buy from me or work with me so I can help you be the best you. Like that's different. So I don't have to flex who I am or what I wear or what I drive in order for that to happen. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't look back at my agency legacy with like, I got to, exit with all of this cash. No, I look back at my legacy as really, it was the first time where I was full blown boss. Not like side hustler, because I had some bulk candy websites that like took me on vacation once or twice. Like I had some cool stuff, I used to sell lawn art decor on the internet.
Oh my God, I love you so much.
But like it was the first time where there was no backup plan. There was no safety net. It was
and
like
you did it.
And I did it. I did it. And
yes.
so that identity of being a boss, being in control of my destiny, realizing the grit that I thought I was pretty scrappy, but man, agency life, you either got that grit or you don't. Legacy is discovering who I was, because that is everywhere in the work that I do today, years later.
Oh, I love that answer. That you couldn't have answered that any more beautifully. Is there anything that you would have done differently?
Contracts.
Get those contracts with those evergreen renewals, y'all. I'm just saying.
Yeah, man. When I advise, a couple different things. When I work with agency owners now, yes, one of the first immediate things I like look at or I talk to them, I'm like, let's look at your contracts. So that's certainly the first thing that I would certainly advise anybody that's listening to this. But honestly, the other thing that I was really proud of actually is how scrappy we could keep our profitability. And one of the things that I'm extremely proud of is actually part of the way that we got services rendered in a way that we could still be profitable, because that's where it's just chews it all up.
Yeah.
Was we would do partnerships and collaborations with the local universities.
Smart.
So first of all, I would teach MBA students at Florida Atlantic University, but I would reach out to like Palm Beach, community college, or FAU or Lynn University. Like we had actually in Boca Raton, we actually have a ton of these local universities, privately held or whatever. And I would basically sync up with the people in charge of their internship programs. So we would have a ton of interns every single semester. And that's a test to your systems and your processes and your onboarding that you can handle that, like that flux.
Yeah.
But we had a ton of interns that would come, like anywhere between 10 to 15 a semester, that would come, and they would help us with our social media fulfillment. They would help us with the services that we were rendering that we could train them on in a really like quick onboarding process. And they were some of the best personalities because they were freaking hungry. They were so excited to have real world experience. It was basically 5-minute drive from campus. Like and then in the summer, we'd have students come back, and then we'd have like Stanford students. And like we had some Ivy League students. And so, and also your best interns, not only are they getting like 3 class credits in exchange for like work and hours that we're not financially having to pay for. This is all above board. Thank you very much. But because that always comes up, but we also got to cherry pick the best employees for the future, because if you were fantastic as a rock star intern, you best believe I'm going to be hiring you as our first, W-2 employee when needed.
Yes. I love that strategy. So smart. What about alternatives? So let's just say someone like me is listening and we're like, should we sell? Should we not sell? Maybe we're getting I get approached
all the time.
And I'm like, no. And then I'm like, I don't
Maybe.
know. So if someone's in my spot, which I'm sure there are plenty of people listening who are, they're
Yeah.
thinking about exiting or they're
Yeah.
thinking about transitioning away from their agency.
Yeah.
What alternatives would you give them instead?
Well, advice number one, the best time to sell a company is when you don't have to or want to sell the company. Like selling from a place of burnout is a bad spot to sell. So if people are approaching you right now, may I suggest that you just entertain the conversation, even if you have no intentions, because you putting off this energy, like, I don't need you, actually might get you the best buyer future that you can even imagine. But
Okay.
because you're completely closing it off, and then when it is time, you might be in a very different energetic state. I'm not even like a woo person. I'm a little bit woo curious, but I'm just saying, you bringing into this energy that like, I don't need you, you're trying to court me. It again, the power dynamics, the psychological play on your benefit is so advantageous. I would never deny a conversation from somebody who is interested. The other thing is that you're going to learn a lot about how people are seeing you from their evaluation, from their perspective, because you as a business owner only understand the value of your business from your perspective and your bias, and it's your baby and you're too emotionally caught up. So having those conversations with these external people will show you how they see the world. That only makes you a better business owner and future mentor anyway. So I would, first of all, I would have those conversations, my first advice. Number two, I think you'll be surprised how it's either going to reaffirm for you whether you want to stay or whether you want to go. Because you're going to either get really seduced or be like, you know what? I'm really not. Like, I'm
not
good.
feeling it.
I'm not feeling it. It's like dating. Fine, go for it.
Yeah. Such good advice. I'm totally taking that advice. Hopefully you are too. Okay, last piece of advice.
Okay.
What's the one big piece of advice you would give to any agency owner who's watching or listening who are contemplating selling? So not like what's the alternative, but like, I'm going to sell, Veronica. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Number one piece of advice.
I think you need to be prepared for having an identity crisis on the other side. I don't think, honestly, I'm probably Rand with his Lost and Founder book is probably one of my favorites that kind of like, I think really talks about the other side of not being known or not having this thing that you've been known for forever. Like I don't know, there's very few books that come to my mental catalog that talks about that, but your identity after the departure of you and this thing that you've built is real. Like, you think it won't be emotional, even if you weren't team centric. Let's say you were just like, I'm doing it for the money. I don't even care. I don't care what your motives are, but who you are on the other side will get called to be questioned. And so if you can start proactively thinking about who you want to be on the other side, it's not as painful of a vacuum. And so like, I knew that I wanted to be a speaker even after the close of the business. And so like, I had that next identity ready to go. And I was really, it like gave me motivation in the hard. And so I love personal branding. I think personal branding is very difficult on your own. It's actually physically impossible because you can't be objective with yourself. So like, having your friends who are other marketers or working with mentors and coaches that can help you give you a new goal, a new ship to build in your mind is probably one of the biggest advice I can give you if you know for a fact you are absolutely going to be selling.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is such good advice, and it's such a departure from where I thought you were going to go, but I feel like that's really the most important place to go. So thank you for that.
Okay.
All right, last question. Where can everyone connect with you? Where can they find you? What are you working on? Give us all the goods.
Okay, so everything veronicaromney.com. All things Veronica Romney, social media, V Romney. Look at that. Just call me V. It's really fun. I'm currently, because we're having this interview June 2024. And I'm going to be writing my first book this summer. That's the big project that I'm working on, all around what I think is my secret sauce when it comes to both marketing and leadership.
Ooh.
I'm really excited. Like, we're talking some really fun case studies and brand examples. Barbie's going to have an appearance. Harley Davidson's going to have an appearance. Like, there's going to be some really, I can already feel it. I've been getting those drops from above, like that's just like hitting my notes and my Post-its. I'm like buried in Post-its. But yeah, I love, I mean, hey, I'm a keynote speaker. If you got a stage, I'll be there. If you want me to help you with, facilitate a workshop, I'll be there. Like I love being with people and wherever people need help, whether it comes to marketing or leadership, call the Latina.
Yes. And I can attest to your powerful presence on stage. Like it was just like everybody was like literally like it was like the price is right. People were like jumping around in their seats. Like so it was fantastic.
Oh,
Thank you so much for being with us today and pulling back the curtain and just telling us what it really is, like the
yeah,
real talk, the real tea.
yeah.
And everybody, we will see you next time.
Bye.